Hi, I'm Bob, the product manager of Brother QL label printers. Today I'm going to talk to you about Esc P commands for the Brother QL 810W and the QL 820 NWB. So what are Esc P commands? They are control codes that are basically sent down to a printer to print a label out, to establish where the print information lies on the label. And what we're going to do is take a look at one and build one in a little bit of detail and go through exactly how some of the commands are used. So there is a manual on our website for each of the models that tells you about all the Esc P commands for that particular printer. So in this case, we're going to go look at an Excel file that I made to make this sample label. So we have a sample label here that just has a model name, it has a barcode, it has a return number with a barcode, and an SKU number. And then we just have the type of return. So what we're going to do here is take a look at what we start out with. So the first thing is we got to send the control codes to the printer that basically tell it that the next part that's coming is Esc P commands. So that's this front part here is basically we're starting out with the 1B 69 61 0 tells it to move into Esc P mode. Then we're initializing it with the 1B 40, so that basically clears any buffer that was in the printer's memory. Then next, for this particular label, we're going to tell it the command here, 1B 69 4C 01, to tell it to transition into landscape mode. And then next, we're going to put some generalized formatting on how much margin space is around the label. So in this case, we're going to set it to 1B 5502 for 2 millimeter. And then we're going to set the amount of line feed when we move from line to line. And we're setting that to the number of dots. So we have to put in basically 15 dots. It has to be translated into hex so that 15 translates into 0F. And that's what we put here. So then next part, we're going to set the font information for how we want the font to be used on the internal fonts that are on the machine. And basically, we're going to set the font to Helsinki. So we put a 1B, 6B, and 08 tells us that particular font to use. And then we're going to tell it how big we want the font to be. And this, again, is in dot size. So how many dots are there? So if we kind of equate this to an inch, it's 300 dots per inch. So we take the 58 and divide it by 300, and that gives us about the rough size inch-wise that the font will actually be. Then next, we're sending down the actual text that we want printed. So this will be in that text format. We're just putting the model name here. Then we're going to add some spaces at the end of this, and then we're going to add some line feeds to make the spacing between this and the barcode. Then we have the formatting for the barcode here. What we're going to do is tell it what barcode we want to use. So in this case, we want to use barcode 39. So we put a 1B 69, 24, and 30. That will tell us what barcode type to use. Then we have whether we want characters printed below or not. We set that to a 31, which is the number 1. 0 would not have it print, so that would allow us to print the numbers at the bottom of that. Then how high we want the barcode to be, so we're setting this at 160 dots, which is a A0. Then we have what width we want extra small so that it can fit. We have a lot of information on this particular label to print, so we need the barcode as small as possible. Then we have this, what the ratio of the smaller bars to the bigger bars is, so 2 to 1. And then we have the command here, the B, which basically starts the barcode number. And then we pass it the actual number information. and then we end it with a backslash, which is a 5C command. Next, we do a couple of line feeds to move it down 30 dots. And then we're typing new text in here for what the return number is. And then we'll put a couple of spaces to buffer that distance between the return number here and the barcode that we have. So then we have another barcode information here. Same thing, code 39, similar information. The only difference that we're changing is really the text that's in there. So we have the all nines there to send it. And then we have the line feeds over here to make the space between that and the next. Then we have the new text for the SKU number. And then the different part here, where for the type return, what we are going to do here, as you see here, the type return is offset and indented. And it's also a larger type font, and we're going to underline it. So we're going to change some of the commands that are done here to basically do that. So in here, we're rechanging the font size. So instead of the size that we had above, we're changing to 83 dots. So that is a 53 that we're putting in here. So it's 1B 5800 53 to change the dot size. Next, we're going to apply underlining. So we put the command for applying underlining, which is 1B 2D03. And that will underline with 3 dots. We can set the length to be 1 dot, 2 dot, or 3. And then lastly, we're going to move the position. So we want to indent this text before we actually type out the text. What we'll do there is we're going to move horizontal positioning. So it's a 1B 24 and then the amount of dots that we want to move. So in this particular case, we'd like to move it about a ½ an inch. So we would put 150 dots, which equates to 96 in hex. So we put that value there, and that will shift it over about a ½ an inch from the edge of the label. And then lastly, we type in the information of the text that we want printed there in that larger font size and underlined. So type of return is what we put. And then lastly, we issue the print command, which will, after all this data is interpreted by the printer, it sees the print command and it will actually start to print the label out. So that's how we formulate the Esc P commands. Now we'll see how we actually send that to the printer. So we can do that in 2 ways. First, we can use a USB connection to send that, or serial connection to the printer and send that down. And what I have here is a little sample application that we made. So we have what we call a raw spooler. This basically, we pass a file and it puts it onto the spooler and sends it down to the printer. And we take a look at this little batch file here. We call the raw spooler. We tell it what printer we want to send it to, which is one of the printers in the queue that you have set up on your machine. And then we tell it the file name. And this file is actually all of the hex code information that was there. So in this case, we're just going to run the batch file. And that will send it down to the printer. And then our label will come out. The other way that we can do this with the TCP/IP connection, so we'll remove the USB cable from the printer. We have a network set up here that the printer is connected to and the laptop are on the same network. And basically utilizing a third-party tool called Netcat, we're able to send data over the raw TCP/IP port 9100 to the printer. So in this case, we basically have the Netcat, the IP address to the printer, which is 192.168.1.101, what port, which is the 9100, which is the raw port that the printer accepts data on. And then we're actually going to send it the same bin file that I had sent it over the spooler. And if we press enter on this, it will send it over TCP/IP connection, and then we will have our label printed again with all the Esc P commands. We hope you enjoyed this video on Esc P commands. For any more information, visit us at brother.com.